This is Coach Matt. We're here at Team Quest Gym, and we're introducing a new series for our Jiu-Jitsu class. And a lot of my students were requesting takedowns for Jiu-Jitsu, so wrestling for Jiu-Jitsu. One of our biggest things we got to talk about is all the fundamentals. We got to understand there's the 7 basic skills of wrestling. You got to have stance, motion, elevation, penetration, lift, back step, back arch. These are our fundamental skills. But we also got to understand how we make contact. I see too many athletes reaching with their body out here. And we did a little drill today where if I reach, my partner Mac would just take a step outside and gets to my body. He might even duck under where he gets underneath my arms and turns the corner. So what I always talk about is teaching is making first contact, whether I'm going to go center mass, I'm going to get my hands inside his body, or I'm going to attack wrist. Today we're just going to start with getting our hands inside. So I want to be in here, I want to get my body close. So when I see, turn a little bit here. So when I see this, I see guys out here, when I'm trying to get my body close, because my target is the hips. If I'm close, they're available. If I'm out here, I got to reach and take those arms away from myself. So my first task, and I'm having these guys drill, is drive this guy, level change, get to those hips. So Mac's gonna do that to me. He's gonna get those hands on me, elbows to his body. He's gonna drive with those legs, and I hit the brakes. He can level change, get to my hips right there. Mac did a nice job. He created an angle. That's a really critical component that we're talking about. And when we're talking about definitions here, we want to talk about it. What is an angle? So we're all on the same page. It's simply this. My hips are facing my opponents. His are no longer facing me. His lines of defense are hands, right? It's everything out in front of me. Hands, he shoots on me, it clears those hands. Head, he gets under that head. Chest, if he gets all the way to my hips, right here, I can use those hips to create space and put those lines back in, okay? But if he gets to those hips and I lose this battle, okay, the last thing I got is a lot of tricks, and we'll talk about those later. And that's all head high theory principle stuff that we'll cover in another series. But it's about getting our body close to this guy so we can get to our underhooks and our targets. As I'm doing that, I'm creating an angle. So as I push and I feel this man brace, he's stopping that push. I'm going to take this angle right here. I'm controlling this something on this far side. Right here, now I got a wrist. If he rolled towards my thumb, he could clear that wrist. Then I'm going to go bi-tie, bicep, and I can find that wrist. He clears that. Right here, I'm going to stay on that. I don't need this anymore because I'm going to attack the hips. When we were training today, we were having guys attack up here, and they were getting the waist. The hips can go away from here, and he can replace his head position and take my angle away. If I have this and I'm on his hips, he cannot get those back. One thing I'm doing here is I'm pointing this elbow towards the mat. Watch just what that does to his position. Puts all the weight on his heels. So if I keep this man balanced versus putting the weight on his heels, hanging on him, you can see his position being very disrupted, okay? So right here, we're attacking. We call this drill find the knee. How I know that I'm close enough is I can pinch. There's no space between us. So when I get to that angle and I attack this hip, I refer to this as capture because I'm not locking yet as I'm capturing. Notice when I bring this elbow down, how I take away a lot of that space. Now I go lock my hands. If I'm wrestling, there's 3 basic locks that I use. The first one is butterfly. I hear it referred to as the Gable grip. I wrestled at the University of Nebraska, so I would never name something after Dan Gable. So you just clap your hands without your thumbs, twist. That's why I call it a butterfly right there. Lock, elbows in tight, taking away that space. Second one is if I need a little more length on my arms, I go to a C lock. Looks like a C. I connect these two. I can rotate that into a butterfly, which is a little more secure of a lock. The third lock that I really use a lot, and you'll see me using this one a lot, is what I refer to as the samurai. Okay, right here, oops, I'm just bending over like I'm pulling that in. That knuckle is going to be used in a lot of different directions. So when I get this lock here, I might go to a C if his hips were back. I might see that in here, right here, and I'm into my butterfly. I've got pretty good control. I can manipulate the hips by driving that elbow down, but I can also grab this as a samurai lock, and I can control those hips. Even if Mac was trying to get space, get his hips away, I can still control this. So this is typically the lock I'm going to use when I go to this underhook, find the knee. Here, I'm going to pull those hips in, pointing that elbow towards the mat. Like I said, I've checked that my hips are close enough. Oh, I know my hips are close enough now. Now I'm just going to drive. The analogy we used today was when this guy's falling, we're going to put the second knee in there. So this takes a lot of footwork development. My knees are here. I'm driving. If I keep driving without moving my feet, I'm going to fall myself on the ground. And I'll see guys do this all the time, is they just won't move their own feet. So as they're driving, I'm going to replace this knee with that one. I never want to be walking on a tightrope for a stance. This isn't a good wrestling stance with my feet together. I want them shoulder width apart. I'm strong, I'm balanced. I mean, no matter where I'm at, I've got these supple knees bending, okay? But when I transfer that knee, you're gonna see this here. So as we go to find the knee, I pushed, I get to my underhook head position, forehead in the ear, capture that hip with my samurai lock. As I'm driving Mac to the mat, he's falling on the waterfall, I know he's going, that's when that knee replaces, okay? So as the man's going, you could tell, like if you were going in a boat and you were going over a waterfall and you're like, oh no, I'm going, and you try to backward, it doesn't matter. You're going. The current's too strong. Same thing here. I get way too much pressure on this guy. Hanging up there. Right now I fall into that. I'm past the control position. As we land, I'm into what we call side control. I'm going to get off my toes, off my knees, and get a lot more pressure on this man. He's carrying all my weight down there. What we started to see today was guys were taking their hips away. Maybe they didn't have a good enough lock, their elbow wasn't down, they weren't controlling the hips, or they were locking up here around the waist. And they're like, I got the hips, and he takes those hips away. Well, I've got a first option is I just kind of open this up like a lasso here, and I go capture that hip. So right here, I go get it, and now he doesn't have that same pressure because I'm using my head as a lever and I'm pulling those hips. I'm putting all the weight on his heels. I'm driving him back to the ground, finishing a very nice takedown. As I'm doing this, he might also get this hip, and again, he's gotten beat from the angle. So he's gonna try to take that angle away, okay? Not only is he taking my angle away, he's going to try to create his own angle of attack by moving offline over here to get into his angle. But what I know is when this hip goes away, that one's going to come closer to me. So as he starts to face me, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to capture that hip right there. Put that wizard in for me, just so. And now I'm going to use that samurai again. So I'm just finding the other knee. So this is the second drill we were doing. We attacked, push, angle. I attack those hips, he takes those hips away, big lasso, head in the chest, find that second knee. As we're doing that, he might also take those hips so far away that I don't want to hang on to those, because as soon as my arms go away from my body, I'm very vulnerable to a lot of attacks. So I'm going to just shorten those arms up. You'll see Mac takes those hips away from me, and I shorten this lock back up. Right here. Now I get close, I re-attack. That's a great option. The other option when those hips are back is now he's unbalanced. Right here, he's strong at this position right here. He's got his knee underneath his chest, he's got his nose underneath his toe. He's strong right here. If I move him just this much, notice the transfer of the weight. So as I see those hips go away from me, here, I'm also putting a frame in between our body. This hand's coming here, and I'm gonna pull him to the ground. As I pull, the last thing that's holding this man up is essentially me. He's laying it on this arm. I'm holding him up. So as those hips go back, and I start to frame this guy and snap him down, as soon as I release that, he falls. You see where his weight transferred to? This hand could go from framing to the top of that head right here. One of the attacks we were looking for. If I just tried to run around Mac, this arm's available to grab my legs. Boom, he grabs that leg. Now he's in on a single leg series. He can develop that to a double. So one thing I do when I snap this is I just cover this arm right here. And as I get behind, I know that Mac's going to try to face me. As long as I'm behind this arm, just face me. He may try to pull guard. That would be another option that we're going to see out of this guy, is he'll pull guard. But as he just tries to face me, having that arm behind his elbow here, notice this. As I snap this down and I release, I'm putting this arm behind there. As I go behind, he faces me. He's actually pushing me behind him. This is a great opportunity to grab lapels, because from here, I don't want to put a deep arm in and get rolled. So if he goes to roll me, I can shallow that up, but I got a ton of options here. All right, so one of the other things that we started discovering was maybe this guy's hips don't go all the way back to where I'm going to snap him down, but I've got my angle. He's going to start fighting for his head position and get that angle in there. He's going to take that away. This is the perfect moment to do a nice throw by. And what I'm doing is I'm passing that arm across his body. Notice he wants to get the weight off his heels, so he's going to balance himself. You'll see Mac find his own balance in here. As he's balancing himself, I'm going to overextend his weight onto his toes. So I'm here trying to put the weight on his heels. He takes those hips away and gets head position. That's the moment I'm going to throw this by. Okay, right here, the moment I'm going to throw this by is I'm going to take this man's back. Once I get behind him, I'm going to use my head as like a third hand. I only got two here, and they're busy. Right here, he steals head position. I'm going to take this arm up high, and I'm going to throw that by. Now I'm going to put all my weight onto his body, and we're back into the same position. So a lot of times we'll take a man down. They'll end up either in turtle, or they'll end up in on these positions here. And we'll talk about the last one was when I spun around and Mac tried to recover guard. So off of that snap down here, he takes those hips way back, and I went snap down. I spun, went behind him. He's going to try to put me in guard right here. Show him what you do, Mac. Right here. Oh, I got a takedown, but I'm stuck in his guard. It's not what I'm looking for. I know how to pass these, and we're going to cover all kinds of ways to pass in the future. But right now, I'm looking to mitigate his guard. So as I snap the man down here, I go behind, and as Mac tries to pull guard, I'm putting pressure on this knee, and I'm getting my knee inside here, and I'm pinning the man. Right here, I want to control a nice side control. Pressure here, I can go around his head, or I can go around this arm with the elbow in his ear kind of position. Good jiu-jitsu player here. He's already trying to create frames. I'm going to take those out. I'm going to take those frames out as I come through one more time from the turtle. I'm here, and he's going to try to put me in guard. I'm catching these knees right here. I'm passing it. I'm digging my knee inside here. I'm creating that space, and I'm capturing control one of these two legs.